Hey, this is Jeff again with the Valhalla Ventures, ReGuideService.com, ReIGUIDESERVICE.com. I want to do a real quick video and talk about respectively changing your perspective. I think that that's real important, is to be able to change people's perspective and do it in a respectful way. And that's what I try to accomplish with my videos. I try to accomplish that with my clients. I try to accomplish that with my writings when I'm talking about the subject of investing in real estate or whatever it is that I'm speaking on. It's all about trying to respectfully change the person's perspective. So one of the things that I want to change the perspective on is the secret to real estate, right? There is no secret to real estate. The secret is just hard work, knowing the right amount of information, knowing the sources to go get that information from. That's not a secret. That's just all business. If you want to start a manufacturing business, you need to know like ways to manufacture things, whether or not you're going to need warehouse space, tooling, all of that kind of thing. If you're manufacturing, depending on the type of manufacturing, will really depend on what types of knowledge base and connections you have. That's what happens when your light falls down. And the point that I'm trying to get at is that the amount of things that you know and you think you know, not the same thing, right? And the longer that you're in a business, the ideas that you have, the way that you believe things work versus the way that they really work, they're slightly different, right? So being that there is no secret, there are no shortcuts, there are no ways to trick success, right? So what you got to do is, let's just look at evaluating a property, for instance. The typical way that someone will evaluate a property when they go look at a property is they're just going to walk through. They might meet a contractor out there or something like that, but then after they meet the contractor and the contractor says, hey, this is all that needs to be done, they might have done a first tour, then brought the contractor out there, then they need to make an offer, then they need to have an inspector come out and do the inspections, maybe have a designer review some of the things. Maybe they're going to do the design themselves because they watch HGTV and they think that's what this is all about. But that's pretty much the process for this property. Now, when you get into the multi-door, multi-family properties, that becomes a little bit different situation. The level of inspection and evaluation and things that you need to do to make sure that your investment is not going to be wasted. You're not going to spend more money than you need to, because basically you're looking for the cap rate, and I'm not going to go into what the cap rate is, but you're looking for what the cap rate is, what your ROI is, what your return on investment is. That's how you really evaluate these properties. In the current condition, you might have an inspector, someone that comes out and does an analysis. I've done that on properties to determine what kind of deferred maintenance still needed to be done, put together a total property analysis. Finding out what all is needing to be done to bring this up to its maximum value is important, even if you're planning on not doing that. Because knowing what the top dollar is, the top amount of money that you can get for this property, right? If it's a small amount of money, no matter what you do to this property, then you need to know that, because then that will help you in the decision making that you go and do along the way. If this is just a fat stack of money, if you were to do all the things that need to be done to bring it up to value, you need to know that too. But the only way that you can do that is basically the same process: to have an inspector to tell you all your life safety, your code evaluations, that kind of thing. Then you're going to need someone to come in and maybe do design, tell you paint colors, tell you about removing walls, doing something different with your kitchen layout, changing out the bathroom, master bathroom layout, that kind of thing. Maybe you do that yourself. That's fine. A lot of contractors have some skill in that because they've done that a lot. Maybe just ask your contractor. But then you got to get all of your estimates. You got to make sure you get a good contractor. You got to do all of those things. So when you get someone that's like an analysis, they're just trying to get you to change your perspective. What my perspective is look, let's go in and take a look at this property or this property together the same way. Let's look at your code issues. Let's look at your life safety issues. Let's look at what it's going to take to get this property to the minimum, right? Just to the bottom, what's it going to take? Then, depending upon that, let's go ahead and add some things that need to be done, and we'll do some menu items, because then we can compare to that cap rate We can compare it to the rental income. We compare it to the ARV, the after repair value. We can make those comparisons and, hey, here's the things that have to be done. Here's some extra bonus things that we need to do, right, to be competitive with the other properties that are for sale or for rent or for whatever. And then there's maybe even some extra options, some things that you can do to go above and beyond and make that extra money. A lot of the properties that I've put up, whether it be single family, multifamily, RV parks, I get offers that are more than what I'm asking for because I do a little bit more. I know about the deferred maintenance. I know about long-term ownership. And when people can see the value in those things, then what happens is that they're willing to give more money. You have to show them the value though. And the real way to put value into things is to do a full evaluation, right? You have to figure out the current condition, knowing about what all of your code, life safety, all of your types of basic stuff is. Then you can start saying, okay, now we have the outer envelope not leaking any water. Now we have the foundation not cracked. Now we have the AC working. Now we have, all the guardrails are secured. We have everything that needs to be done to make that property a viable and desirable property. We have all those elements in place. Now, what can we do to add to that? What can we do to add to that? And then that ratio is a balance, right? It's always a balance between how much money that you are spending and how much money that you're saving. I know my drawings are awful, okay? You're not here for the drawings. My point is that you got to look at it and say, hey, look, like for me personally, if I go in on a property and I have a single family home and I have, let's say 2,200 square foot of flooring, and I wind up getting that flooring for 50 cents a square foot less, so I got $1,100. So I go and I upgrade the backsplash. I go and I put some nicer fixtures in. I take that money and I spend it back on the property because the amount of money that I was to make, that big ball of income that I planned on, that I was so excited about when I signed on the dotted line and wrote that contract out to buy that property, I still want that dollar amount, right? That's what I'm excited about. But now I get to make my product even nicer. I get to give my end product some extra pizzazz, some extra makeup, some extra jewelry, some extra. So when I do put it on the market, I am no longer competing with the people because I no longer did this level here where I just did the minimum plus a little bit extra to compete with my neighbors. I went above and beyond to compete with my neighbors because of that savings. And now I'm getting offers that are far and above what I was even planning on listing it for. A lot of the times, and not all the times, but a lot of the times, I wind up making all of that money back because people are willing to pay for quality. They're willing to pay for when they see things that were done correctly. So that's what I try to do. I try to respectfully change the perspective of what is it that we are as investors. Well, at the end of the day, we are a service provider. We are a product provider. We have real estate that we are either selling, leasing, renting, whatever it is we're doing with this property. There's going to be someone else that's going to be benefiting in some way from this property. So to be able to maximize the benefit to those people ultimately really will come back and maximize the return on your investment in many ways. That's just how it works. Be blessed. Bless others. ReGuideService.com. If you need any help, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to evaluate single family, multifamily. I can do it in person. I have virtual services available on my website. Feel free to reach out. If you don't reach out to me, please reach out to an expert of some sort. Make sure they are an expert, third party with no skin in the game for benefiting from an elevated estimate or blowing out the deal. Or, that's one of the problems with inspectors is if they don't have any skin in the game, they don't really know anything about the deal. They don't care if you succeed or fail. They're just going to tell you about what's wrong. That's what an inspector's job is. My job is to try to problem solve. That's the difference. I'm going to see the problems and I'm going to try to tell you how to solve them so you don't blow out the deal, so that your property doesn't not sell if you hire me to come in and do the evaluation. You should get someone that's really there to solve problems, not someone that's just there to list problems. It's pretty easy to come up with a list of problems. Finding solutions that work for all parties involved, that's where it becomes a little bit more difficult, but that's where all the money is made. Later.